Johhny Monsarrat is one of only a handful of people in the world who can claim to have invented MMO games. So now a $30 billion per year industry. He was the founder and CEO of Turbine, which pioneered MMO games with Lord of the Rings Online, Asheron's Scroll, and Dungeons & Dragons Online, and which Warner Brothers bought for $160 million. Is that right?
Yes, money.
So now Johhny's.
I didn't get much of that, but I got some.
But now, Johhny, you're the CEO of Monsarrat, making an AR mobile walking game. So the next generation of past Pokemon Go. You have a major Hollywood partner and Metaverse strategy. Your company is based in Los Angeles and Warsaw, which is where I'm based off. That's a poster for Warsaw, by the way. Yeah, and you've already built your alpha game, and you're raising funding for the next stage. Well, first of all, we want to talk about AR and AR in gaming specifically. But before we do that, we want to cover another topic which is very hot, has been hot recently, and that's the Metaverse. Kasia, I think I regard you as our internal expert in the Metaverse. So I'm going to have you carry that section if that's okay. And then...
Yeah, that's fine, I guess. The first one is very obvious because you mentioned in the introduction that Johhny has some particular strategy for the Metaverse. So maybe just to kick it off, start with this. Let's start with this. So Johhny, what would that be, your strategy for the Metaverse?
Well, maybe I should lay some groundwork by describing that we're building a game that's played outdoors. It's like Pokemon Go. It's an augmented reality game where you walk around in the real world. It's a mobile game, so you're seeing the real world through your phone. It's the view of the camera. And then on top of the camera view, we lay augmented reality creatures. Unlike Pokemon Go, it's a three-dimensional game, though. So that's the kind of game that we're making. It's a real. We put a theme park in your public park, and 3D games is not a new concept. We're doing it in a new way, but of course there have been 3D games for almost 30 years now, and the Metaverse. The most important part of the Metaverse is gaming. When people think about gaming, when you read about the Metaverse, the most important part of the Metaverse is 3D games. The Metaverse is a way of connecting different 3D games to each other. So, of course, Facebook, now called Meta, has this view that maybe you'll be able to move one avatar from the first game to the second game, to the third game, and be able to be the same person in different games. And there are some things about the Metaverse that are good, but also some concerns I have about, is it all hype? Is it all real?
So what would the concerns be about the Metaverse?
Oh, if you want to jump right into the concerns, do you mind if I start with the good stuff? Because once I get started about concerns, I'm not going to want to start. There are a lot of good things about a potential Metaverse. One thing is that it lets you take on a character and build that character. Maybe I'm building a fighter, or maybe I'm building a race car, and I can take that personality into different worlds instead of having to start from the beginning for every game that I play. It also allows me to take relationships from one game to another. If I have a bunch of friends, maybe I can still have those friend relationships in every different game instead of having to build them all from scratch. Because the Metaverse is built on blockchain, it's decentralized, which means that no one has to control the objects and the items in the Metaverse. Having a Metaverse also allows a player economy. If I have an item in the game, like this bottle of water or this Ukrainian flag. The players can take an item from one game and put it in the other games. And they aren't all games. People talk about going to a dance party, going to a wedding, going to a networking function, going to a conference, but it's basically a 3D live virtual experience. And you're traveling from one place to another. Having things interoperate is often a good idea. And I get the idea that if you build an economy that works across different experiences, then it's like having free trade between countries. Everyone believes in free trade unless they just lost their job. But the more openness you have to make money, to travel back and forth, the better the experience will be. Those are the good things about the metaverse. Was that clear, or should I try to restate some more?
Well, I think it was clear, although it's difficult to find examples of that that would already happen. So that's why it's kind of difficult to comprehend sometimes, I guess.
That's a brilliant comment. I agree totally. I just gave a speech in which my primary question was, if the metaverse is so great, why haven't they built it yet? Because 3D games have been around for almost 30 years. If interacting between 3D games is so important, can you name any two games that interact from different companies? I can't think of any. And I think the reason why nobody's built it yet is because nobody wants that. If I'm playing a robot game, I want to be a robot. I don't want to be Johhny Avatar. If I'm playing a spy game, I want to be a spy. I don't want to be Johhny Avatar. I don't want to, every game that I go into has different items. I can't bring my robot stuff into the spy game. That doesn't make any sense, really. And it doesn't make any sense for the spy game to allow robot stuff into my game. Think about me being a game developer. Let's say that I'm building a spy game, and I've got a player who wants to bring in all this robot stuff into the game. We got robot items, robot skills, robot powers. Well, if there's some robot that can fly around, that's going to destroy the game balance in my spy game. If my spies can suddenly fly around and they have robot strength, it's kind of going to screw up how fun the game is for all the people that don't have robot strength. And also, as a developer, I'm receiving these robot items. I'm receiving a robot gun. I'm receiving the robot skills. How do those present themselves in the spy game? I have to write software to handle the skills and the powers. I have to write a 3D algorithm to handle the 3D model. I can't display the robot in my spy game unless I have the 3D model of the robot. Because Nomtek is the world's best AR consultancy. As you know, different customers have different types of 3D rendering. Sometimes there's lighting, sometimes it's pre-rendered, sometimes it's a tiny device, sometimes it's console with special computing. So I can't just assume that the 3D robot model is going to work in my spy game.
I mean, I guess you could probably figure out a standard for everyone, right? For how the engine, the graphical engine should work like, and game mechanics and so on. But it sort of defeats the whole idea of decentralization. I think it's actually makes it even more centralized. I think. So,
That's a very smart point. Certainly, if the spy game and the robot game were both based on the same engine, there could be some interoperability. But sometimes these engines have to be configured. For example, we're using Unity for our game, but I don't want to always interoperate with other Unity games. because the number of pixels and polygons will be different. The lighting is different. The devices will be different. So even using the same engine, there could be some problems with interoperability.
Right.
To me, I worry more about game balance, though. It's just unfair to allow players to bring talents and items from one game to another. This also affects the money that I make. We don't like talking about money. Games should be fun, but games have to get built. And if we're spending money to build a game, we have to get paid somehow, or else there's no game. How does a game like mine make money? Well, if the game is free, we make money by charging players to advance in the game. We don't want it to be disgusting, a mercantile model where you can't make progress unless you pay. Of course, the game should still be fun. Players can advance. If they want to pay a little bit to advance faster, they can, or to have like a decorative hat, they could do that. So the game shouldn't be imbalanced. But basically, free-to-play games are runoff of players who buy things in the game, just to kind of work through the game a little faster. Now, that's how I make money. Let's say that I'm making a spy game. The player begins as this dumb little junior spy. I don't know how to be a spy. But the player gets skills and abilities and becomes like, the world's greatest spy. And the player loves to achieve things in the game, to advance. Well, that's how I make money. But then there's this robot game. The robot just comes into the spy game and the robot already has all these powers. The robot doesn't need to build spy powers because we already have all these robot powers. Well, how am I making money then as the owner of the spy game? How am I making my money if players can simply arrive in the game with all of their skills and items from some of the game? That's a problem.
So, Johhny, you just said that there are no examples of games that are actually connected with each other. I mean, even two games that would do that. You're saying that it would break the game mechanics, the aesthetics, perhaps. It could break the economy of the games. So you've basically just said, for the most part, that the metaverse is a broken concept, right? So is there any road to redemption for metaverse? I mean, if we follow any certain rules, I mean, is there a...
Yeah, I think it might be a way, like, okay, let's imagine that there will be some kind of usability attribute to the AR, let's say, world, yes? And something that people are dragged to. Let's say like Google Maps, yes? Almost everybody uses them from time to time. And we know for some time that Niantic is encouraging players to scan the world, yes? So let's assume they are building the new form of GPS, yes? And they are building the new AR real world that we can all be there, engage with each other. It's still a monopoly, yes? It's one giant, but maybe, let's just assume they will make it, yes? Because we are not sure whether they will, yes? But let's just assume they will. They can allow for other players within, yes, this AR real world with this new GPS emerged. Like, what do you think, Johhny?
Well, I think that there is a road to redemption for the metaverse, but it's not maybe as big and grand as the Facebook model. One way that the metaverse might really work is having items in the game that don't have a function. They have a cosmetic function, like a funny hat.
Mm-hmm. Or like a fashion, yes? Fashion in the metaverse.
That's
like,
right.
Yeah.
So there's no special feature. There's no special skill. There's no power. But it makes me look cool. And if I want to wear a funny hat in the robot game and a funny hat in the spy game, I don't know why robots need hats. I don't know why spies need like a funny clown hat. But I guess you could do that if you want to. And there's no reason why these items couldn't be brought into a new game as long as the 3D model for the item is sufficiently generic that it will work in different types of rendering environments. The one that I like the most is friendships. If I have a relationship with 100 people in the robot game, if I go into the spy game, why shouldn't I have the relationships there as well? So I think building a team, like, Team Tiger in the robot game, could also be Team Tiger in the spy game. Those relationships could migrate from one place to another.
Right. So instead of thinking about like your avatar as the thing that connects the different games, which has its drawbacks, you're saying you have a clan, so a community, and this is the factor that this is the glue that sticks those words. I mean, this is where it begins to make sense, where it's about the community and being with your friends or virtual friends, and then entering different worlds together. Okay, that sounds great. That sounds like you're taking that humanistic perspective here, and I really like that for once.
And a very precious word, Martin, community. Like, that's the thing to crack, like how to build communities around a network, strong networks, because I think that nobody has achieved so far. What do you think, Johhny?
Well, I think that because 3D games have been around for 30 years, I think if any two companies wanted two games to interact, they could have built that by now. Maybe one of your viewers can think of one or two examples, but it's not like a mainstream concept to have players go from one game to another, even within a single company. You usually can't just go from one game to another. A concept that often comes along with the metaverse is the idea of play to earn. And I think that's a related concept because play to earn is related to blockchain, and play to earn is kind of part of, I think, the metaverse concept. So the idea of play to earn is that you've got a game like, let's say, Axie Infinity, where you can build items in the game. And if you build or train your items in the game, you're training the creatures to be stronger in the game, then you can sell those to other players. And play to earn is a model that can make the game. Play to earn is a model that can make the game bigger and more popular because you've got some people who are playing for fun, but they're also paying money to other players who are providing them with items in the game. Now, there are a couple of ways, at least in my opinion, that play to earn could work well, but to me, there's actually a major problem with the way that play to earn is currently being implemented. So you'll see a play to earn game where you grind through the game. You just have to go tap, 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 I get a green gem. Tap, 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 I get a green gem. That's grinding through the game. Grinding through the game is not really fun. And you do want your players to have fun, even if they're trying to earn money in the game. The game is supposed to be about having fun. I think that's what games should be about. And also, if you're just grinding through the game, you're doing some kind of simple things, then you can maybe write a robot to play the game. And we've seen examples where automated bots are playing the game so that they can earn money. We also see examples of creating a sweatshop in a developing country where the cost of living is low, and they're not really even trying to have fun. They're basically working a job where they're playing the game, trying to build items, and then selling it to other players. I guess it works in terms of making money, but when I think about making a game, I want to make the world a better place. I want to entertain people. If people are depressed, I want them to have a distraction, an escape from reality. Well, those things don't work under this play-to-earn model where earning money in the game is so boring and can be automated. But there is a possible solution. And the solution that we have in our company is a creative model. So I don't get, I can't earn money by creating a commodity like a green gem. Instead, I want to design a funny hat. I might be a 3D artist, or I might be able to draw something or put a symbol or a logo on the funny hat. If I'm doing something that's truly creative, this has two big benefits. The first benefit is that it's fun to create. I'm not just grinding through the game, play to earn. But the other one is that if the play to earn items in your game are a commodity, like a green gem, commodity pricing is low, right? That's what a commodities market is all about. You're basically competing on price, and the price can fluctuate a lot based on what the users want or don't want. It's hard to make money if your prices are fluctuating and you have no way to compete. But if you're creating something that's a creative item, then it's fun to make it, and also the market for selling it has a stable price. I'm competing based on the creativity of the items that I'm building, not based on just a pure commodity. And that, of course, that also fits well with having some kind of cosmetic item. Because if the item has a purpose in the game, a commodity purpose, it'll have a commodity price. But if the game simply has a cosmetic purpose, it could have any price. And that's a lot more stable. If you want to make money and build an economy, build it on something that's, I think, more stable.
And that is the kind of item that you've already mentioned you will be able to bring to the other world, right?
That's a very smart comment. So just as you said, a commodity item could be created outside of the game and then added to the metaverse. If I create a funny hat and it can go into this game and this game and this game and this game, I can make more money from my effort. So I'm not limited to just selling the funny hat into one game. That's very smart. Additionally, I like the idea of the play to earn model with in-game services. Maybe I'm acting like a coach. I'm giving advice and tips. Maybe I'm acting like a tour guide, showing the players where to go. Maybe I'm getting access to a special club in the game. Those sorts of play to earn models, because they're service-based, they kind of can't be commodity-based. And the pricing is more stable. It's more fun to be a tour guide than to work in a sweatshop trying to earn green gems. So that's another way that I think the play to earn model could work.
Right.
My question to that additional one would be more about, okay, so if the user is a co-creator, he's not like a passive recipient, so as it was so far, I guess it brings a lot of UI challenges. Like if you could, share a little bit more about that.
Well, if you're under a play to earn model, if the users have the ability to create items or decorate items, you of course have to build a user interface for that. But I think that's great, because if the players aren't building content, I have to build the content. Let's say that I have 12 missions in my game. The player plays the 12 missions, and then that's kind of it. It's like, okay, now what? But if the players can entertain each other by building content in the game, then I don't have to build 100 missions or 200 missions. The players are kind of building the game for me. So the cost of building a user interface for player-created content is called UGC, or I think user game content, UGC. That cost, I think, is pretty low compared to the cost of me having to build another 100 missions. I know that your viewers might be thinking, oh, this guy John, he doesn't get it. He doesn't get how great the metaverse is. And okay, maybe I don't, but I want to remind you that blockchain and Bitcoin and the metaverse, because they're not based on something that's real, the value of Bitcoin or the value of NFTs, the value of NFTs is based on what people think it's worth, right? It's not based on anything that's real. It's only based on what the market is willing to pay. So if there's a celebrity who has put a lot of money into NFTs, they have an incentive to hype it. They're like, oh yeah, NFTs are great. Let's keep the price up. Everyone should do NFTs. So if I seem like I'm being negative, I'm a guy who doesn't get it, it might be because you're comparing me to people who have a financial incentive to overhype the market.